Tanya Woo, you are a busy gal. I'm so glad that you could take the time. I know that you're running the vigils and coordinating and managing and everything. So let's first talk about the Community ID Watch, International District Block Watch. What is it? Why was there a need for it? What's been going on there? Take us through what it's been like a year or so, right?
Yeah. Oh, a couple months, but we're still going strong. We
started
couple
months. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I know. Okay. It's flown by so fast. We started June 2nd, right when there were some, I guess, some police were pushing back some rioters from the downtown core, and they're trying to disperse them in the Soto Chinatown International District area. And so a couple of these bad actors came through the Chinatown International District neighborhood and broke a whole bunch of windows, looted some of the mom and pop businesses there. And it was really devastating towards the community because these businesses were already suffering from the effects of, the pandemic and all the stigma that has been happening with the anti-Asian rhetoric, with the coronavirus. And so, these businesses were pretty much empty, and the streets were empty. And so having to pay for windows and restock and repair all that was really tough. And so a group of volunteers, a bunch of us got together the next day as we were putting boards up in Chinatown and decided that we were going to patrol the streets. And we were out every single night up until December, when we started going down to 3 days a week because it got cold and we were having a low turnout. But we walk around the streets. We make sure that residences are okay, property and businesses are doing fine. We check on the unhoused residents as well. We give out food, blankets, supplies, and we just make sure that everyone's doing okay.
So what does that look like? And I think that it's a little bit funny that, so we both were in the Miss Chinatown pageants. Of course, you were like, we're up there, I was 3, but that you are coordinating these walks, Chinese princess, what? And protecting people. And what does that look like? And what are some of the incidents? How many of you walk together, and what do you run into, and how do you address it?
So most of our walks are, lately they've been really quiet because it's been very cold and no one's out. But during the summertime, in the fall, when there was a little more activity, people were still coming down and buying food and getting takeout. We were de-escalating a lot of fights. And we had a volunteer who actually stepped in between two people who were physically fighting and got a couple of blows. And he was just amazing, was able to de-escalate. Our main purpose was strength in numbers and having our numbers be deterrent. And so we believe that we are a community-based alternative to maximum force policing. So basically we feel like we kind of fill in the holes where there isn't coverage. And so that's why we walk between like 9 to 11. And we used to walk from 8 till 10 and then from 10 to 2 and just, walk around and try to provide services. We try to be sensitive to what's going on and with who's around. So we try not to call police, and we try to take care of things ourselves. We do basic first aid. We call medics when it's needed. And we try
Tanya,
yeah.
I interrupted and I will. So sorry about that.
Oh no. It's okay.
So I know that Nathan and Rod volunteer there. So like 4 of you, 8 of you are walking around together, is that?
Yeah, so we have a minimum of 4 people, and we had anywhere from 4 to 10, and lately, last Friday, we had 23 people. So it's quite a bit of people. It's nice.
And can you give us 2 or 3 examples, and then what you do to de-escalate?
Oh, okay. There was an incident where there was a woman who was in crisis. We think she was just sexually assaulted, raped, because she was just in pain and yelling, and she wouldn't let anyone near her. And so she just experienced trauma, and we didn't feel it was right to call the police. So we followed her and we asked if she was okay. And we were like, she needs some space. So we followed her for about an hour, making sure that people weren't bothering her, and that make sure she was safe. And she calmed down quite a bit before she walked over to the Piney Square area, and we lost her. There was another incident where I guess some people were fighting with an unhoused resident, and they had knocked over his stuff and were like telling him to leave, but you know, where is he going to go? So we kind of stepped in and tried to de-escalate and separate them for, I think, an hour to 2 hours, trying to calm everybody down. And eventually, you know, they sat down, they started chatting, and the guy who was initially causing the disturbance, you know, bought everybody pizza. So it's just interesting. And then the third
That is a
one,
victory story, Tanya.
yeah, yeah. And then what else have we done? Quite a bit. I wasn't there that night there, but there was an instance where this person was lying on the street. He was responsive, but was in quite a bit of pain, and he did not speak any English. But one of our volunteers speaks Filipino or Tagalog, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what dialect.
Yeah.
And she was able to communicate with him. And you know, we can't help somebody who does not want help. So we always ask, do you want help? Do you want us to call a medic? And so we were able to call a medic and help translate and help get him some aid. And so I feel like we've done some good in the community so far. But we just are out there just making sure that nothing's going to happen.
This is interesting because usually it's all right, pack your guns. And I mean, I know that, that like, right.
Yeah.
But here you are and the Filipina. So the way that you are de-escalating, because I think this is really quite unusual. Like, do you step in, like, what does that look like? Because usually it's like, hey man, don't do that. Or like, hey, you know, so what's the approach here?
Oh, okay. So we had, you know, graffiti has kind of exploded in the CID because of the pandemic. It's just nuts. Like they can't clean up fast enough, and it's so expensive and costly to the businesses. So we were like catching taggers like once a week during the summer. It was insane. And you know, these were just kids. They're not like gangsters.
Yeah.
And they, you know, there is no code. People were like, you know, you paint a mural there. No, they're not going to deface it. No, that's not the case. There's no rules. They just go after everything. And we were catching taggers quite a bit, and we would at first try to do like restorative justice. We were like, hey, you want to get involved in the mural process and paint a mural? And then we found out that, you know, we got their contact information, we reached out to them, and then we started seeing them come back and graffiti and tagging again. And we were like, okay, you know, we got to try a different approach. And so now we're like, you know, please leave. we can't, these are small businesses. They can't afford to pay for that. It's just tough for the community. It lowers morale. And so now we always try to stay like a safe distance from whenever we see anything suspicious before we as a group, you know, tell them to please stop.
Is it more like this is a choice? Like we know we can't do anything, but would you please, is it kind of more like, would you please, do you explain like the shop owner can't afford, can you, like that? Or
yeah, we try to talk to them like, hey, you know, these are small businesses, they're really struggling right now. It's $200 just to paint something, and if you're spraying on historic brick, we can't clean that up. We have to take off a layer of brick and mortar, and that's like layers of our history and our legacy that's in the historic district, and it's just really disappointing. Plus, when they like graffiti up above the first story, the first 8 feet, the building owners have to bring in like heavy equipment and lifts and hire professionals to get up to the 3rd, 4th story to clean up the graffiti. And that's like thousands of dollars right there that we can't afford because, you know, there's the eviction moratorium. So a lot of tenants aren't paying rent. It's just tough all around for the community.
So what I'm seeing right now is a great opportunity for more volunteers to learn how to negotiate and to figure out and to test their communication skills in order to get cooperation. That's what I'm seeing. Do you need volunteers? And if so, what are the qualifications?
So we love volunteers. We need them because of the recent cases of, you know, hate and bias incidences that have been going around. We've gotten a good turnout, but we're most worried about like after this kind of slows down and dies from the media, like our numbers still going to be high? And so we've gotten like 10 to 20 people on our walks this last 2 weeks. But before it was like 4 or 5 people. We were really struggling. And so Yeah, we'd love to have more people and people who will be willing to put in the commitment and come week after week. And we had de-escalation training, we had Narcan training, we have someone who's going to teach us some basic self-defense. And so usually skills like that we learn as we go, because when we first started, we didn't really know what we were doing, but we kind of learn from each other and learn as we walked.
And so people, do you need to have any sort of ability?
Oh, no, we love our volunteers. There are some people who do come with specific skills. We had a couple of medics walk with us, ER doctors, nurses. Those people are so valued. Yes. We have a social worker who we have the number to. So if we come across a situation that we don't know how to deal with, we can call her. Who so graciously lets us call her at like 11 at night. So we have those resources because the city resources are very limited. So we're trying to fill in the gaps as we go.
I wonder if you put out, if you can think about it, I know you're doing another interview with Cairo and you're doing all these things. It'd be cool to see a list of kind of professions or that would be optimal. I mean, I think like having a singer and a comedian in there would be good because you can do some damage with some humor and some connection.
Yes.
And then
totally.
also maybe people who you said you had some different types of training, maybe you could have other people donate some training as well.
Yes. Yeah. Our de-escalation training was donated by a shelter worker who saw us on Facebook calling out for help dealing with the situation. And then I think we found someone who donated Narcan and the Narcan training. So
okay, because I'm thinking of some of the books, Verbal Judo.
Oh yes,
which is an incredible book of de-escalation and a couple other things. Okay, that is cool. So let us talk about what the community. So the community who is living and the stores there, because you manage the which
the Louisa Hotel.
Louisa, so you manage that one, yes?
We have a management company for that building, but I kind of help every once in a while.
Yeah, and so I mean, you're in it. I'm out in the suburbs. I have no idea what's going on, but you're in it and you're around the different shop owners, etc. What's going on? What are they feeling? What are they saying, or are they?
Yeah, with the shops, we also have a large community of seniors. We have about 1,000 seniors living in the CID, the largest concentration of minority seniors in the county. And so, yeah, a lot of them are really fearful and they don't go out after 4 p.m. at night. You don't see very many seniors. And plus with COVID, they've been staying indoors. So imagine how that really does to your, consciousness and just your emotions. And I was just talking to a couple of my coworkers about volunteer opportunities. And, there's these organizations like SCIPTA and these guys too, and ACRS and Int'l who have started like a groceries delivery service for the seniors. And so that helps really with that group. The business owners they're really struggling. Like business has been down. SCIPTA had this small business relief fund that just ended last month, but they were able to raise, I think, about $200,000 in grants and in donations, and we were able to help all of our businesses. And we only had one closure from this past year. So I think that's a great story compared to what we're hearing in New York, where businesses are closing left and right, unfortunately. But yeah, I feel there's general fear of safety and fear of the unknown, especially to those who don't speak English. And especially with the whole vaccination process and the inequity of most of the seniors and most of the, the restaurant workers aren't able to go online and book a vaccine. And so there was this huge campaign called Save Our Seniors where a bunch of volunteers got together and registered and walked and drove about all the seniors to get their vaccination. And now they're working on 300 restaurant employees next. So the community is really coming together. It's
well, they have some coordinators like yourself.
Yeah, and people who care, like you and people watching this. Like
I'm new to caring. I'm like, okay, all right, it is time. I'm like, okay, tell me what's going on, Tanya. They don't talk forever, but I know you know. can you tell us about the Vigils and what's going on there? And yeah, tell us about that and the one that you put on last night.
Oh, yes. So we, these, I'm sure you probably heard about this, but all the incidences of hate and bias and all the violence that we're hearing towards Asian Americans, this is not new. This is stuff that's been going on. It's been going on all summer. But, you know, we, as a culture, we stay silent because we don't want to cause any trouble. We don't want to cause waves. We don't want to be a burden. And not only that, but, you know, with the Black community experiencing so much greater hate and issues than we are, it's with that guilt of speaking up. And so,
can
like,
you pause on that? Because people don't
sure.
like, I get that, and that's, but other people don't understand that. Guilt, what? So can you go into a little bit?
Oh yes, it's that it's so hard to explain. Like this guilt, this feeling that we are pretty privileged in a way, and then seeing how other communities, other people are suffering, and so just feeling this remorse that we shouldn't say anything, I think is how I can explain it. I'm not totally sure. This is a tough one.
Yeah, because it's not, we're comparing, like, it's not as bad.
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
as bad. There's not as many killings.
Yes,
It's not
yes.
as bad.
Yeah. And so, you know, it's not, these violence incidences are not reported, and they're definitely not caught on camera. And so with this surge with New York and the Bay Area, with these videos that are coming out with the seniors being attacked and pushed and killed, and especially with Atlanta, I think it's people are angry, and they are emotionally traumatized by this, because it feels like, in our culture, we take care of our elders. So, you hit an elder, it feels like you're hitting us. Like, it's really disturbing, it's really sad. And so it's time to speak up. And there's this big campaign, like, I didn't know this until 2 weeks ago, but there's a King County Coalition Against Hate and Bias. It's been around, but no one knew about it. And it's comprised of these different coalitions of community organizations like Chinese Information Service Center, Skipped as one of them, the Muslim Neighborhood Association. There's, I think, Vietnamese Friends Little Saigon, I think, is in there. There's a whole bunch of organizations. And what they do is that locally they compile all these incidences. People call in with whatever language they're speaking. Like CIC was telling us a story about how this senior who only spoke Chinese called in saying that she was robbed going to the grocery store, and they were able to help her with a food delivery service. And so they compile all this information about where the incidences are and are able to help, or try to help with these problems in a way. So it's interesting. And so this whole campaign about, if you experience verbal harassment, if you experience violence, or you're afraid to, call and try to get support and see if others can help. Just last week, my aunt was walking around right in front of Nintendo's campus, and she's walking by this bus stop, and this guy at the bus stop started screaming and yelling at her and saying expletives and in China, and she was so scared she started running, and now she's like afraid to leave her house. And so it's incidences like that, they're still happening, and we need to make people aware of that, because there's the stereotypes that we're the model minority, we're doing okay, but really we're not. We really need help, and bringing awareness to this issue, I think, is just step number one, and starting dialogue and making people aware that this is happening is huge.
How many times do you well up a day? I mean, you might be used to this actually, because you're in it all the time, because this is not new for you.
Oh my gosh, not like today. There was this video that was playing regarding Atlanta shootings, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just started crying. It's just an emotional roller coaster these last 2 weeks of up and down, and it's so hard to describe because it's been a rough year with the pandemic, and now this is it's really emotional for everybody.
Yeah, I'm losing weight though without exercising or eating good. I just don't eat, so I'm losing weight, so that's good.
Oh
yeah,
my goodness!
Yeah.
Oh my, be healthy. Don't lose too much weight. You're already so tiny.
So what about the Vigils?
Oh, the Vigils, yes. Oh, yes, that's what we were talking about before I got to this.
No, but I liked where
tangent.
you went. That's what I did want you to go there.
Yeah, so a group called AAPI Against Hate. These youths are
Yeah.
so amazing. They got together and they're like, we're gonna do a large vigil. So that happened 2 weeks ago at Hingham Park. We were thinking, oh, we'll get 1,500 people, but no, 400 people showed up.
Oh, good.
Yeah, and then so they were like, we got to keep this momentum. We're gonna have a vigil every single day. So they've been going strong for the last 2 weeks, and there's more vigils planned for the next week or so. I think if you go to Facebook and you look up AAPI Against Hate, there should be a list. There was one in Burien today at 3:30. There's 2 tomorrow.
I saw the one.
Sunday.
I saw the post on your.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and I'd like an introduction to the youngsters. Is that what?
Oh, they'll love to talk to you. Yes.
And tell us about last night's one.
Oh, well, there was a rally yesterday.
A rally, okay.
Yes, I unfortunately was not able to go because the mayor decided. We gave her a little bit of a walking tour of what the Community Watch does and what we see. And so, but yeah, it was amazing. We had 30 to 40 people show up at the rally. We walked by and right when it was ending, and it's basically, there's no speeches. They're just waving signs and trying to drum up support.
I'm glad we're able to like try different angles with this. Another question that is going to come up that I just lost. Okay, so the vigils.
Yes, I think there's also not only rallies, live rallies,
yeah,
because we're in pandemic times. There's also virtual rallies. I think there's one every Monday.
Oh yeah, because I'd like.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to know about that. Tanya, you are a treasure trove of all this information. Is this anywhere, or is it just kind of coming at you? Is there ways to find this, or is it on the CID thing on your?
Yeah, if you go to our website, cidcommunitywatch.com, it will take you to our Facebook group, and our Facebook group is full of information. Like if you are interested in volunteering, the Save Our Seniors always asks for help with registering seniors and rides. And we walk Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from 9 to 11, and we're starting bike patrols.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's really cool. A whole bunch of people were like, hey, we love to bike, we like to help, and we're like, okay. So we gave it a try last weekend and it went really well, and we're going to continue doing that. And then tomorrow we're going to start our I call it day walks, where it includes corner greeting and senior buddy system and just patrols and getting to know the businesses. And so we're just going to do a quick run, but there's like a limited number of people, and then try to assess where the needs are before continuing on the program. So we got some fun things in the works.
Tanya, my goodness, you are amazing. Like, I'm so thrilled to hear about all these ideas, and I want to share all these things so you can get volunteers and backing. That is incredible.
Thanks.
Can you, before we end here, I know you've got another interview to do. What would you like to say to Asian Americans? Maybe not the seniors, because they're probably not watching anyways, but like the Asian Americans like our age. What would you like to tell them?
Oh wow. We can't be silent anymore. We see something, we have to say something. If we always joke and we let things go because we don't want to cause trouble, but I think this is the time where we have to speak, and we have to challenge these biases and challenge these stereotypes, because this has been happening and it's getting worse. You could see the statistics, like these hate and bias crimes are happening exponentially this year, and with the rhetoric with coronavirus, it's enough. We can't stand this anymore. We can't take this. We will not allow this to happen to our seniors, and we just have to take a stand.
And to add to that, like you said earlier, the spotlight is on now, but let's say there's another shooting and it's not of Asians, or the last shooting, like the big shooting, it's like, oh, well, that may just take the spotlight and nobody cares about Asians anymore. And so I feel like that's why I'm dropping everything. Like, we just have to do this now while we have any spotlight.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't know what's going to happen. Like the Atlanta shooting, sad, but next week, after Atlanta shooting, the mayor of Seattle gave increased police patrols to the CID, but a week later their patrols are going to be gone, and everything is going to calm down. Then what? So we'll have to see what happens. So I think the youth with the rallies and having them every single day are trying to enact ongoing change by keeping the momentum and making sure that this is topmost in everyone's minds. A lot of organizations are really going out there and trying to get volunteers, such as the CID Community Watch, and also giving light to our struggling businesses. Like, we really need people to buy dinner, go to the CID, go to the Asian restaurants, and support them, because it's tough, and the community fund, it has ended last month, so it's an ongoing struggle. And so I think there's a new campaign where I think Save Our Restaurants, I have to go look it up, but they're wanting you to buy food, take a picture of it, and put it on your Instagram or put it on your Facebook, and helping these businesses. So
well, I'm going to comb through some of these things and try and break it down, make it easy so people know how easy it is to support. And then what would you like to say to the allies out there?
Oh.
Or who, well, not even allies, but just people who are like, oh, that sucks. That's too bad. I feel bad for you.
Like,
what would you like from those folks?
Yes. So if you go to the ACRS Facebook page or any other social media, there's bystander intervention training, de-escalation training, allyship tips. And so there's all this information there. But I think the thing that I've been hearing is, just checking in with your friends and your family, making sure that they're okay. I mean, after these incidents started happening, people at work were like, hey, are you doing okay? And that made me feel seen and supported. And that was really helpful. Also, just, saying something if you hear any stereotypes or biases, or just challenge yourself and keep an open mind. And we're so thankful. So I like, the night watch, we had, when these incidents were happening with the seniors, we had a meeting. We called a community meeting, and we're thinking, oh, maybe 20 people will show up. No, like 60 people show up, and they all wanted to help. We have volunteers from Gig Harbor, from Tacoma. Like, this outpouring support is really helpful. And, the governor, I think, put $5 million into hate and bias work. And then we met with the mayor yesterday, and, she's working on doing something about this. And Dow Constantine, the King County executive, has put in some money towards hate and bias work and education. So hopefully some good will come out of this really terrible.
Well, it's nudging. It's nudging.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll be nudging. Like, oh, let's use it. Great. Thanks. You're going to do this. I'll help you. Great. So it's nudging. And just, I wanted to reiterate, or just ask you, well, what if your friend doesn't know what to say to you? Should she be silent? Is that better? Or what? Like,
oh yeah, I know we always are so much afraid of saying the wrong things or offending people, but I think just say it, because we know that you care. We don't, I wouldn't take offense if you say the wrong things. I know we're all learning and we're all trying, and I do the same thing all the time. This is a journey that we're all taking together.
Yeah, and I would say that so talking to the audience, Tanya, I mean, the people I've talked to, say something. It does, maybe if it's even an insult, but at least you said something, because silence is so horrible, and we are hurting and we are crying, and we wish we were seen and heard all day long. And so just anything to let us know you see us is helpful.
Yes, I totally agree. Yes.
Wow, Tanya, I'm going to grab some of those things off your website. Thank you so much. And I will do as much to amplify your voice, because you are doing a lot, and I bet you could use some help.
Oh no, thank you. And I really appreciate like these podcasts, or what are these called? Facebook Lives?
Yeah,
Facebook
awesome. Lives. I mean, these are conversations, right? Two ways of talking, just what we're doing. And so other people can try and understand. You're white, you're Black, you're Latino, you may not quite understand. But if you could just hear how we talk to each other, they can kind of get a sense of what's happening and what we know and they don't. And so we need them to kind of listen to us and amplify our voices.
So you're doing such amazing work. Like I watched some of your videos yesterday, so I really enjoyed them. Thank you.
Do what I can. All right, well, have a great interview, Tanya. Thanks a lot.
Oh, thanks. I'll see you later.
When was the last time you felt like this? Has it been a minute? It is time to mix it up. climb out on those limbs, and jump into life. Life is full of excitement. We just need to get curious, get uncomfortable, and go for it.